Okay, apologies if anyone's watching this. I forgot to hit record, so we're just doing background on Chaggai. So, though it seems like the messianic redemption was occurring, several significant imperfections called this belief into doubt. What? Or were they? Well, it's clear that the community would not be able to afford a temple as lavish as the first temple built by King Solomon, which is funny to us because we know how lavish the second temple is going to become, right? But for them, the first temple is lavish. I mean, it was, the gold plated, all this stuff. And they're, of course, not going to be able to do anything close to that. And also, as he says, according to rabbinic tradition, the ark was missing. So we want to rebuild because, we're kind of we've all been in times of our lives in which we've endured tremendous loss, and all you want is to get that thing back, right? That you are missing. And at the same time, it's not really going to come back in the same way it was, right? And so, how do we deal with that? And he says also on the political level, Judea was this tiny vassal state in the vast, powerful, and pagan Persian Empire. Zerubbabel was a governor, not a king. The Jews were entirely vulnerable to the whims of the Persian government, and their local enemies used their clout to thwart the building of the temple and the walls of Jerusalem and to persecute the Jewish community. Right. So we've got, well, we don't really have any power. Our local enemies are abusing that fact. And there were droughts and widespread poverty. Oops. And also the only way to potentially fix this situation and move up the social ladder was if you abandon the Torah, right? He says, while those who remained righteous suffered for their faithfulness. So if you're like kind of thinking, oh, well, this must be the Messianic era because, we are being ushered back to Jerusalem, and yet at the same time, everything is terrible. Well, that's, just a little bit confusing in that sense. Um, and he says, in retrospect, we know that this period was not the time of the full redemption, and instead it served as a critical transitional period as prophecy ended and the rabbinate began. Right. Which is, also very interesting. Of course, you never realize what history is happening until afterwards that you're living through. And so, yeah, we're really living through the end of prophecy. Um, but he says, however, Haggai and Zechariah prophetically sense the enormous potential of this phase. The redemption could have been fully realized in their time, and that this is one of the most important keys to understanding their prophecy within its context. Right? So basically, we've got some very confused people who are not in a good place and have an enormous job ahead of them, but don't really have the ability to actually execute it. And this is very, very tough. Okay. Please jump in if you have any comments or things to add or the like. Mm. All right, I'm just going.
So, where is this prophet in the sequence of prophets that we talked about? Is it the same time as, I don't know, Chizkiyahu, Yechezkel, or Yeshayahu, or when
Great.
is?
Great. So that's actually he has a little timeline here. It's pretty hard to see. But what he points out is that Ezra 1 to 4 is 538 to 536. The Jewish leader is Sheshbazzar, Zerubbabel, and Yoshua. The Persian emperor Cyrus the
We
10th.
can't hear you when it's not
Oh,
close to.
sorry. Oh, well, my apologies. My apologies. I'll hold it over here.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got the Jewish leaders are Sheshbazzar, Zerubbabel, and
We
Yoshua.
can't hear.
Still?
Yeah, when you turn your face away from the microphone,
Oh, okay.
you
I'm
got. I'm
sorry.
sorry, I don't know.
No, no, no. That's good. I'm glad you said that.
I can hear you. It must
Can
be
hear
something with
also.
her computer.
Really? Oh, that's interesting. Well,
Okay.
I will try not to turn my head. I'm just my eyes. Okay, so 538 to 536 is Ezra 1 to 4. 42,360 people return to Israel, build the altar, and begin laying the foundations of the temple. Then Ezra 5 to 6, Haggai and Zechariah. The Persian emperor is now Darius I, and that's 520 to 516. So Haggai is actually very much concentrated just in 4 years. So we know exactly when. And this is after Yirmiyahu, after any Assyrian kings, right? We're now in Persia, we're post all of the other prophets as we know them. which is why we're near the end of the book, the Nevi'im. Um, and as his little major events for this period is rebuilding is encouraged after a hiatus due to enemy interference, completion of the second temple, celebration, right? So that's Ezra 5 to 6, Chaggai, and Zechariah. All right. Um, Now we go, just looking for the Chaggai material.
So maybe I'll
Please
just
jump
add
in, please.
a observation, which is that um, they knew that Chaggai, Zechariah, and Malachi were true prophets. They just didn't know for sure if they were talking about their actual time. We are doing something amazing, just like it's amazing that we're doing this on Erev Yom Ha'atzmaut because 80 years
Yeah.
ago, that's exactly what people were feeling, right? We are doing something incredible, but the prophets said, yeah, yes, it is incredible, but this isn't the last redemption, and
Mm,
that's it's very scary for people, even for us. The Talmud gives 16 signs that you'll know that you're at the end of days, and all of them have come true, but none of them have all come true at the same exact time. So,
mm,
as much as I would love to say, Hashem told me last night that that we are at the final redemption, I can't say that responsibly because it might not be. And that is terrifying because people in my community say it can't get any worse. Well, sorry, it can. The Iranians can bomb us with a nuclear weapon right now,
hmm
and that's worse than anything ever did anybody before in history. So it's really really scary.
hmm Yeah.
You don't ever want to say it
It
can't
can't
get
get worse,
worse.
right? I think I've quoted him before. I don't know where the term originated. I heard it from Daniel Hartman on an episode of his podcast with Gussie Klein-Olevi that the definition of a Jewish optimist is someone who says it could always be worse, right? Which I just love. Yeah.
There's
This
a
is Rabbi
standard
Hartman
joke.
from the Hartman Institute.
Yeah. Yeah. Thera, have you heard that before that?
Yeah, well, there's also
No.
there's a standard joke that says so I said, oh, things are terrible, things are terrible. I said, cheer up, things could always get worse. So I cheered up and
Ah,
things got worse.
okay, great. Yeah, there you go. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
become
but that's what these Jews 2,000 years ago were experiencing, right? Because they really didn't know. Sorry, 2,500 years ago, they really didn't know what the end plan is, and
yeah.
and as much as our prophets tried to cheer us up, it's really really scary. And
Yeah. Yeah, you can only imagine. I don't know a lot about this period of like Shivat Zion, the return to Zion,
there's
etc.
45,000 out of ha-
Right.
millions or hundreds of thousands of Jews.
Yeah.
It,
And,
it
And
just
10 tribes are lost.
yeah.
So that's
And you
it.
see with the story of Esther, the Jews are doing pretty well. Obviously, yes, there's existential crisis, right? That's what Esther is really about. But the minute to minute, day to day, they seem fine, There's no indication otherwise. Um, so
which one? Maybe on that point, which one um, of the prophets do the rabbis say that Mordechai was? Like one of these people at what they thought was. I don't know. I somehow have this memory that they said, oh, maybe he was no, Tachkent because that he was Persian. Anyway, I'm just saying that again. It's like Jewish history repeats itself, and
mhm,
and that's really the only lesson we can learn, which is yes, this might be the end, but it can get worse.
see, you always think of Daniel Hartman. Um, okay. Ay, ay, ay. So, now we get to Chaggai. So it is 38 verses long, and only Ovadia, as I said, which is 21 verses, is shorter. And Chaggai's recorded prophecies span under 4 months, all dated to Darius's second year, which is 520 BCE. And then, just as Angel says, despite the brevity of his tenure and recorded prophecies, Chaggai had an enormous impact on his generation as he inspired a demoralized people to resume their building of the Second Temple after a lengthy delay. Right? So it's very specific historically, but we can all imagine the pastoral connections that transcend time. Right? And so now we go here. Now I will share my screen. We'll go to the text. Yeah. Alrighty, here we go. Sorry, I need to just move my screen. Okay. So we open with Bishnat Shtaim leDaryavesh Hamelech b'chodesh hashishi b'yom echad lechodesh Hayad Dvar Hashem b'yad Chaggai Hanavi El Zerubbabel ben Shealtiel Pachat Yehuda ve'el Yehoshua ben Yehotzadak HaKohen HaGadol le'emor. All right, so in the second year of King Darius, on the first day of the 6th month, this word of God came through the prophet Chaggai to Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, the governor of Judah, and to Yehoshua, son of Yehotzadak, the high priest. Right? It's basically like speaking to Moshe and Aaron. And so, yeah. Also, I mean, this is maybe interesting, maybe not. The Chaggai is the first prophetic book dated by the reign of a foreign king because there's no Jewish king at the time, right? So you can't say it was in the Jewish king's time. So you just have to say it was in the foreign king's time.
Ruth, is there a midrash that Darius was Esther's son? Hello?
I get so mixed up with all those things because, right, there's a medrash that that Vashti was Nebuchadnezzar's
Daughter, yes, that I don't
right.
know.
Okay, so
Granddaughter.
and
The
you're
descendant of
asking if who? What, Thera? Which one are you asking?
I was asking whether Darius was Esther's son.
Esther's son. I have no idea. I don't know.
On a
anyone
totally
does, please
different
share.
note, the word Pachat Yehuda as governor was used by the Ottoman Empire as Pesha, and the Pesha until the end of World War One was not even in Jerusalem. He was in Damascus. So Judea was considered a southern county of the Syrian state, I guess. So South Syria.
Oh,
so
Charlotte has looked it up for us. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can hear me. It says, no, Darius was not Queen Esther's son. Esther was married to King whatever this first.
Mhm.
And Jewish tradition suggests that her son was named Darius, but he is not the same Darius who is known for rebuilding the temple. Yeah.
Okay, but it definitely would have been a popular name, and I mean that
guess.
culturally that certainly is an interesting point, right? Yeah. Okay, beautiful. All right. So something that's interesting is he points out, so Rabbi Angel points out the tension of what we'll see next, which is that in Ezra, chapters 1 through 6, it shows that the Jews are excited about rebuilding the temple, but they're really demoralized by their enemies, right? Because the enemies keep getting in the way. And the Chaggai does not appear to acknowledge the enemies and instead blames the people themselves, which of course is this is our go-to all the time, right? We do that over our whole history use outside conflicts as really as an opportunity for self-introspection. So it's not surprising that that happens here. So let's look at verse 2. כה אמר השם צבקות לאמור, העם הזה אמרו, לא עת בו עת בית השם להיבנות. So thus said the God of hosts, these people say, the time has not yet come for rebuilding the house of God. All right, so then we continue. Vayhi dvar Hashem b'yad Chaggai hanavi le'imor. So the word of God through the prophet Chaggai continued. Ha'et lachem atem lashevet bevatechem sifunim behabayit hazeh charev. Is it a time for you to dwell in your paneled houses while this house is lying in ruins? So what are these paneled houses? It's the Beit Hamikdash itself had paneled walls also. It seems to have been stylistically what was available at this time. And so what he's saying is you guys managed to, build your own houses, but you haven't managed to rebuild the temple, which clearly he's saying in a disparaging way. Right. And also, like, you don't really have an excuse, right? If you have an excuse that you can't build the temple, well, then how come you can build your house? Okay. Jump in as always. I'll just keep going. Ve'ata ko amar Hashem tzvakot, simu levavchem al darchechem. So now, thus said God of hosts, consider how you have been faring. I don't love that translation. Oh, like, okay, interesting. All right. You know what? I'm just realizing now, I didn't pay attention to this before we get started, that unlike Rabbi Beasley, who used a different translation, Rabbi Angel is using the JPS translation when he quotes the text. So if you have a different translation, please jump in because I don't have a different one in front of me.
So what was the last part of the sentence?
Simu levavchem al darchechem.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why that's the translation here. Like, look at what path you're taking, right? Why can't that just be the translation? I don't know.
It's put your heart in on your way somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like let your heart dictate where you're going. That's
Oh, I
Oh,
like
interesting.
that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that.
It's not your mind that you have to deal with, it's your heart. So if you think of the Shema,
Mm-hmm.
it's always dealing with the heart. Also,
Oh, I like that.
the
I like that.
autonomy of the heart is
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
anyway.
No, that's a good point.
But in the Torah, the heart was the brain,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
Many
Exactly.
times, even.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Wise-hearted women.
Right.
Yeah.
Chochmat Lev. Yeah. Okay, zaratem harbe vehave me'at, achol ve'en l'sav'a, shato ve'en l'shachra, lavosh ve'en l'chom lo, mishtaker el tzaror nakuv. All right. You've sowed much and brought in little. You eat without being satisfied. You drink without getting your fill. You clothe yourselves, but no one gets warm. And he who earns anything earns it for a leaky purse. All right. So now God says again, same words as 5, right? Look at your ways or what have you. Alu hahar vehavetem eitz uvenu habayit ve'ertzebo ve'ekavda amar Hashem. So go up to the hills and get timber and rebuild the house. Then I will look on it with favor and I will be glorified, says God. Right? So, stop sitting around. You're not doing anything. Go do it. Just go up there and do it. Just turn the page, make sure I got this. Alrighty. Pano el harbe vehine limaat vehavetem habayit benifachti bo ya'an me ne'um Hashem tzvakod ya'an beiti asher hu charev ve'atem ratzim ish leveto. You've been expecting much, but getting little, and when you brought it home, I would blow on it. Benafachti bo. What did they say here about that? meaning perhaps a curse on it. Because of what, says God of hosts? Because of my house that lies in ruins, while you all hurry to your own houses. Right? So the reason you're feeling unsatisfied and unproductive and like you're not getting anything done and you can't make any progress is not because, oh, your enemies are getting in your way or there's a drought or life is hard. No, it's because you haven't rebuilt the Beit HaMikdash, you haven't rebuilt my house, and therefore I am intervening to make sure that you don't get to accomplish anything you're trying to do. You like that? Yeah.
It's kind of a very strange prophecy. You would think they're coming back to establish themselves in the land of Israel, and Haggai is worried about building the Beit HaMikdash. It seems like it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it has to be a priority for them, but it sounds like they need to build their own houses first.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure why he's pushing for building Beit HaMikdash.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting to contrast it with Ezra, who's understanding of circumstances, and Haggai's like, no, we don't really care about circumstances. The reality is this is the truth, and yeah.
Maybe he thinks that they need the inspiration of a Beit HaMikdash.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But Beit HaMikdash was set up, if we follow the Torah, only because the Jews needed some place that they thought was holy to substitute for idolatry.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we know from after the destruction of the Second Temple, Rabbi Gamliel established Yeshiva and house of prayers instead of rebuilding the Beit HaMikdash. So I think it's kind of interesting why Haggai is pushing for building the Beit HaMikdash.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not only is he pushing, but he's being very strict in his language.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, you are sinning if you're not doing that. You are
Yeah, he's not
about
mincing words at all. Here, Charlotte
Yeah.
wants to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say that that he's pushing for the Jews to sacrifice once again, their own comfort to praise God. So you first need to build the Beit HaMikdash, and then you can attend to your own needs. You need to sacrifice of yourself in service of God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's not patient or understanding. All right. So, Al kain alechem kalu hashamayim mital v'haaretz kal'a yevula. That is why the skies above you have withheld their moisture, and the earth has withheld its yield. Ve'ekra chorev al haaretz ve'al heharim ve'al hadagan ve'al tirosh ve'al yitzar ve'al asher totzi ha'adama ve'al ha'adam ve'al ha'behema ve'al kol yagia kapayim. Therefore I've summoned fierce heat upon the land, upon the hills, upon the new grain and the wine and the oil, upon all that the ground produces, upon human and animal, and upon all the fruits of labor. This kind of makes me giggle a little bit just because it's like so thorough. It sounds, life sounds like terrible right now. Just like, geez, everything is hot and
No sustenance.
yeah, no sustenance. Also, Angel points out the same word, God's house is charev, and therefore they get this fierce heat, or the chorev, right? The cause of the drought. And so that's the same word used, which really demonstrates like the connection between the two of them. All right. So Angel points out that throughout Tanakh, prophetic rebuke is often met with stiff resistance. However, the righteous leaders Zerubbabel and Yoshua, as well as the nation, immediately accept Chaggai's criticism and restart the building of the temple, right? So let's think about why. So what happens? Vayishma Zerubbabel ben Shaltiel v'Yehoshua ben Yehotzadak HaKohen HaGadol v'chol she'erit ha'am v'kol Hashem Elokehem v'al divrei Chaggai hanavi ka'asher shalacho Hashem Elohehem v'yir'u ha'am mipnei Hashem. Zerubbabel, son of Shaltiel, and the high priest Yehoshua, son of Yehotzadak, and all the rest of the people gave heed to the summons of the Eternal their God, and to the words of the prophet Chaggai, when the eternal their God sent him, and the people feared God. Right, so this is like after all of our failed prophecies, this is such a lovely thing to read, right? It worked. It's like Yonah levels, right? Where just he goes to Nineveh and says you have to do tshuva. And they're like, okay, great, sign us up, you know. Um, and it continues, Vayomer Chaggai Malach Hashem, V'malachut Hashem la'am le'emor. Ani etchem ne'um Hashem. So Chaggai, God's messenger, fulfilling God's mission, spoke to the people, I am with you, declares God. How beautiful is this? Everything is working out so nicely. And then Vayar Hashem et Ruach Zerubbabel ben Shaltiel Pachat Yehuda ve'et Ruach Yehoshua ben Yehud Tzadok HaKohen HaGadol ve'et Ruach Kol She'eri Ta'am ve'yavo'u ve'yasu melacha beveit Hashem tzvakot Elohehem. So then God roused the spirit of Zerubbabel and the spirit of Yehoshua and the spirit of all the rest of the people, right? Everyone's working, everyone's heart's in the same place. And they came and set to work on the house of God of hosts, their God. Bayom esrim ve'arba'a lachodesh bashishi bishnat shtayim ledaryavesh hamelech. On the 24th day of the 6th month, in the 2nd year of King Darius, and then we'll see, you can see the way that's formatted, it kind of leads directly in, right? So isn't this amazing? Just, just,
So,
it's so fast.
after the golden calf, God gave
Mhm.
people a tabernacle to build to keep them busy with something that would bring them closer to God.
Mm,
This seems to me that this is very
very
similar
interesting.
strategy.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah, in order to distract from an existential crisis of like, who are we? Yeah, very nice. I mean, we'll save chapter 2 for next week. Does anyone have anything to add to that? Texting, anything else?
Yeah, many people were in Israel at that time. I mean, we're talking about the beginning of the period for the Second Temple.
Right. So if
Period of
42,000
Israel.
Jews went back, I don't know how many people are already there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
and was Haggai the only prophet at that time?
Well, then he'll be followed by Zechariah, but yeah, and then Malachi. Very
And
nicely job.
yeah, so his prophecy has nothing to do with sin, or it's about priority for rebuilding the land.
Right. I'm right. I guess he could have like torn into them further for, you're not rebuilding and all of that, but he didn't, right? There's no extensive, indulgent description of all the sins. It's just, all right, you're doing bad things and let's get started. And like, okay. Which kind of makes you wonder, like, where had their spirits fallen? I mean, I would love to study this in like in tandem with the Ezra 1 to 6 and see Ezra's leadership approach versus Chaggai's leadership approach. Maybe Ezra was a bit too comfortable, a little bit too empathetic, right? And they didn't get that like kickstart that they needed, that Chaggai clearly provides, and then they just like roll into action. So we'll have to eventually get to Ezra and then come back to this and see. Yeah. Okay, Tov. So next week we will do the second parak, which is 23 psukim long, so it's longer. I hope this was interesting to